the author of the book, Professor Banji OYEYINKA, the book launcher, Prince Clement Hastrop, the Secretary General of the Committee of Vice Chancellors, Professor Michael Faburudi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me say that I'm extremely pleased to be here to be part of the presentation of Professor OYEYINKA'S new book. If you look on the wall here, beginning from this end to that end, and there's a bit of space at the end, these are all the previous books that Professor OYEYINKA has written. And if you count them, they're close to about 20. Several of them are on various aspects of today's subject and the subject of this new book. And I think that when you look at this new book that is written, Consumption to Production, the Whys and Ways Out of Failed Industrialization in Nigeria, you would find that just as in several of his other books, it's an unusual book. We academics are frequently criticized for being very long on the analysis of the problem and being rather short on the actual solutions. But if you take a look at this book and several others that he has written, you will probably notice that he is one who likes to write a workbook. This is how you should approach it. And I think in particular about Nigeria, he's extremely passionate. And I think the Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment just mentioned that he will make you listen whether you want to listen or not. In this particular book, I think there is a lot that we will need to take away, especially those of us who happen at this time to be not just policy makers, but policy implementers. The book is a workbook on how to make the Nigerian industrialization vision work. And just looking at some of the issues raised and all of that, I just get the sense that he's someone who has looked at these issues time and time again, who has discussed it, who has dreamt it, who at some point feels that, look, this thing just has to work, if you apply if you apply some of the solutions that he has. There's a profound, in my view, submission, which is at the heart of everything that he says, which is that, and I believe Professor Gambari had mentioned it, that Nigeria needs a positive structural transformation that would lead to the reallocation of economic activities across three broad sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and services. And I believe that he's right. What we really need to do, and we've had these discussions time and time again at the Economic Summit, at the Economic Management Team meetings and all that we really need to focus on certain key areas and allocate resources appropriately to those areas. What we've done with agriculture demonstrates clearly that where we focus not just resources, but also practical plans to implement, and we actually set timelines, we decide on what results we want to get, we are able to achieve the aims and the objectives that we set for ourselves. And we've proved that with agriculture, that we can actually set ourselves targets. We can decide what it is we want to achieve. We decided, for instance, that we're going to produce, first of all, enough paddy rice, just as an example, and ensure that we're able to mill the rice and be self-sufficient by the end of 2018 in rice. And we are well on the way to achieving that. We're already producing 7 million metric tons of rice, which is, by all accounts, possibly top 3 in the world today. Now, milling is the issue. We're focusing on milling. And we see that because we have set ourselves targets and we're working actively with the private sector is interested. So they are also involved with us in this. So Walcott, for example, knowing that we will keep to the targets that we have set, opened their milling factory in Kebbi State, 120,000 metric tons is the capacity of that milling facility. But more importantly, Dangote, and wherever Dangote invests, you know that that is the smart money going in a particular direction. He's investing in 1 million metric tons of milling capacity. And he expects that that should be in place by the first quarter of 2018. There are other, Olam is investing in the largest poultry, the largest poultry services and all of that facility in the country. In fact, that was opened about 2 months ago. Everybody sees that once you set the targets, and you don't have to get everything right all at once, but once the targets are there and there's a determination to ensure that those targets are met, the private sector comes in, they play their own part, and we're able to achieve the results that we need to achieve. And I think that that's what we really need to see. I'm sure that all of us, if you don't know already, we have repeated it as often as possible, and we keep singing our own praises on the successes we've had with the ease of doing business. Now everyone sort of understood that we have a difficult, sometimes even described as a hostile business environment. So we needed to sort that out. And how do you sort it out? I mean, you can talk about it from now till eternity, and nothing will change. So we decided on an action plan. Of course, we have PEBEC, which was constituted by the President, our Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. And that council decided on what to do. We set ourselves first a 60-day national action plan with specific targets on what we needed to do. And we got everybody into the room. Customs was there, NIPC, everybody who was connected one way or the other, immigration, who run the airports, everybody was connected one way or the other with doing business in Nigeria. And we decided on specifically what areas we wanted to see changes in. Whether it was visa on arrival, we thought, or CAC, being able to get your business registration done or your company registration done in 24 hours, and all of that. And we set targets for everybody. Because we were able to say, and then of course the legislature was also in the room. We got the legislature to agree to a 60-day timeline to ensure that they passed 2 important laws for accessing credit, especially for small business. All of them. Everybody did their bit. And of course, we had very capable people who are working with us, the Honourable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and of course, the coordinator, Dr. Jumoke, who is also here. And everyone worked together. We achieved our 60-day timeline. And all along, we had thought we'll move 1 step, we'll move 2 steps. So we'll move 24 steps. And we're rated as one of the 10 best reforming economies in the world. So it really doesn't take... So my honest view is that we can achieve whatever it is we want to achieve if, just as Prof had suggested, we are clear as to where we are allocating our resources, we are clear as to what the targets are in each of those specific areas. We have good people who are working on it, people who are single-minded and who are sure of what, who agree with those targets and want to work with those targets. And we go ahead and implement. I think the same will go with industrialization. We have to simply take a good look at what it is that we want to achieve. We can't industrialize, we can't produce everything, But in order to produce anything at all, there are certain conditions that we have to meet. Sometimes when you look at even just machine tools and all of that, it's difficult to industrialize without the capacity to make your own machine tools. Very difficult. And machine tools are not particularly difficult to make. So we can decide that we want to train technical manpower. Over what period of time? How long do we need to train people? What sort of education is required? And I think Professor Gambari alluded to that. You know, every one of us knows, I mean, it's been tried and tested everywhere, that science, technology, engineering, and math, the so-called STEM approach, or the so-called STEM subjects, are what we need to do. So I think just reading and looking at the recommendations that he made, my view is that a very practical approach to this, where those who need to be involved in this sit down and work it out, set ourselves targets. I'm sure that we can achieve this in a very short time indeed. I mean, the capacity, my view is that Nigeria just has the capacity to do practically anything that we want to do. We have the capacity. Sitting in this room are probably, you know, people who have, I mean, just looking at all the professors alone that are sitting here, I mean, there are whole countries that do not have a tenth of the capacity that is in this room alone today, and they are not exactly doing badly. How many people, you know, do you really need to transform this nation and to change this nation? I think that what we are down to is organization. We're just down to being organized enough, being single-minded enough to achieve all of our objectives. We've talked extensively, especially at the economic management team, about implementing things, just getting stuff done, just getting things done. And one of what has emerged from that is some of the experiences that we've learned from Malaysia. We're starting some in the next, I believe in the next 2-3 weeks or so. We're starting some labs with the Malaysian delivery unit. There is a professor, I don't remember his name now, who has done a lot of work in this area. The Malaysian professor who has done a lot of work in just getting people to see a problem, look at it, and try and implement it. You know, and we've chosen certain areas where we want to focus on and ensure that we implement the strategies that have been adopted around those areas. And we're very convinced that we'll achieve some of those objectives. So I want to just, again, commend Professor OYEYINKA for being such a practical professor. And I'm always pleased. You know, one of the reasons why, maybe because I'm a professor myself, I'm very skeptical of how professors approach matters, you know, because of course, I'm guilty of every one of the things that I accuse them of. But I believe that today we have with us, you know, some of the very best minds, you know, and Professor Gambari have proved time and time again that there are practical ways of solving problems. And I'm very pleased to see that all of these gentlemen are working together with us to see how we can get Nigeria going and how we can make this country truly work. So I'd like to commend you again for the excellent work that you've done. And we certainly will support this work. We will buy as many copies as our meager resources can muster, but we certainly will support the work, and we'll let you know exactly how we will do this. So thank you very, very, very much, and congratulations on this new book. And I know that this book will be transformational. And those of us who are concerned with making policy and implementing policy will certainly read it and will use it. Thank you.